One.
Hello, my name is Andrew Tinkham. I work for the state of Ohio, the Office of the Ohio Consumers Counsel. The Office of the Ohio Consumers Counsel is a residential utility consumer advocate for the state for consumers who have residential electric, natural gas, telephone, and water. These type of companies in Washington County would include Dominion East Ohio Natural Gas and American Electric Power. We have a lot of great resources and services that we offer to the public. Feel free to go out to our website. It's www.occ.ohio.gov. On our website, we have a lot of fact sheets on different utility topics, which can include what we're going to talk about today and ways to lower your utility bills through energy efficiency. We also have information on energy choice, information on how to read your utility bills, consumer assistance programs that can help pay on utility bills and keeping utilities connected. And we also have information on power outages, which is another big thing, especially this time of year. So feel free to go to our website. We do have a lot of great information. Review our fact sheets and our latest information and news that's currently happening in the utility industry. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter. So feel free to go out there. You can get the link from our website. But today we're going to discuss ways you can save money this summer on your electric bill. Recently we've had some very warm days. We've had to, if we do have central air or even air conditioning unit, we have probably had needed to turn it on. That's the only way we can stay cool and remove that humidity from our home. So I want to talk about some cheap and easy things you can do this summer to lower that electric bill, because there's many things you can do, and maybe things that you even do today. The first thing we would recommend is to make sure you close your blinds or pull the drapes on the south and west facing side of your home. Unfortunately, in the summer, the sun can warm up our home and give us that greenhouse effect where that sun comes through and warms up the rooms. Unfortunately, when those rooms get warmed up, our air conditioner wants to kick on, which ends up having us spend more money on electricity. So we do definitely recommend to, especially going into the afternoon, shutting blinds and pulling drapes to block that sun from coming through. Also, it's very important to make sure that you do not use your appliances during the hottest parts of the day, mid-morning through, late afternoon. Those are sometimes the warmest times of the day, and appliances can add to that heat in your home, which could cause you to use more air conditioning. So once again, what we would recommend is that if you are going to be cooking lunch or dinner, refrain from using the oven or stove. The oven gets very hot. If you think about Thanksgiving dinner, when you're cooking for hours and hours, it gets hot in the kitchen. And that same effect happens in the summer. So if you can avoid using the oven and stove or running your dishwasher or running your dryer or your washer during the heat of the day, that will definitely help reduce the heat in your home and also cause you to use less electricity. So if you can use those appliances more in the morning or more towards the evening, that'll certainly help you save on your electric bill. And obviously we do have to cook at lunch and we do have to cook for dinner. If you can find other alternatives such as toaster ovens, microwaves, or even going outside and grilling, that's a way to reduce the heat that the oven or stove would provide in heating up your home, because obviously a toaster oven takes less time to heat up and it doesn't get as hot. So once again, when you're cooking, make sure you watch when you're using those products. That will definitely make a difference. We also recommend, if you can raise your thermostat 3 to 4 degrees, that will certainly help you save money. I know that may sound uncomfortable. Obviously we set a temperature at our home that makes us feel comfortable. But what you can do to combat that, if you do raise your thermostat 3 to 5 degrees, is using fans in your home. You may have ceiling fans in your home. When you're in those rooms, if you increase your thermostat by 4 degrees, you're not cooling the whole home, but by using fans, in a room that you're in, that'll make you feel 4 to 5 degrees cooler. So you're actually combating that, even though you're not heating your home at the desired temperature and have it up 3 to 5 degrees more. That fan's making you feel like you're at that desired temperature. You're not cooling the rest of your home at that temperature, and that'll make a big difference in your electric bill. That will definitely save you money. So if you have ceiling fans, once again, utilize those, increase your thermostat. Just make sure your ceiling fan's going in the right direction. You may or may not know that your ceiling fan can go in both directions, but make sure it's going in the right direction. The way you'll know is if it is actually if the air is pushing down on you, it should be counterclockwise in the summer. And then in the winter, obviously we're far from that, but certainly you can reverse the fans and that'll bring the heated air back down to your level. So one nice thing about ceiling fans, they can be used year round. Now, if you don't have ceiling fans, box fans and oscillating fans, they provide the same type of air movement as a ceiling fan. So if you are in rooms where there's not a ceiling fan, if you can use a box fan or an oscillating fan, that'll give you, once again, make you feel 3 to 5 degrees cooler. And even though the fan is using electricity, it's going to use a lot less electricity than running your air conditioner. An air conditioning unit uses quite a bit of electricity. So definitely use that as a tip. Once again, some people don't think about the fan obviously making you feel cooler, but the other thing we'd recommend with fans, if you are leaving the room, don't leave them on. Go ahead and turn them off because once again, all the fan is doing is making you feel cooler. It's not really lowering the actual temperature in the home. So when you leave that home or either you're leaving the home or leaving those rooms, make sure that you turn off those fans because there's no reason to pay for that electricity when it's not really cooling anyone in that room. Another thing that we would recommend is if you do have an air conditioning unit is looking to have it tuned up each summer. A tuned up air conditioner will run more efficient. Also, what's great about it, it'll actually lengthen the life of the air conditioner. So you actually get more years out of it before it would need to be replaced. So we highly recommend getting a checkup. Now, everything that I mentioned above is pretty much no cost unless you have to go out and buy a fan, maybe a little bit of a cost. Everything we've talked about so far really is no cost, but the air conditioning checkup can, there is an expense to that. You actually need to pay an HVAC specialist to come out and do the tune-up, and that can, run customers anywhere between $60 to $120, depending on the company usually. But once again, it will run more efficient, so you will save some money there, and it will extend the life of the air conditioning unit. It's no different than having your car tuned up. The more services that you provide on the car, the longer it will run. And speaking of the air conditioning unit, it's very important to check your furnace filters. Some consumers might not think about checking their furnace filters, but it is a good idea to check them once a month. Once again, if your air conditioning unit, and even in the winter, if your furnace is running often, obviously that furnace filter is catching dust and debris. And if you don't change it often, then it gets clogged up to the point where it's not allowing a full amount of cool air to run through your ductwork, and so that becomes less efficient. You end up spending more money. So check your furnace filters on every month. You might pull out the furnace filter and see that it's not dirty at all. And if that's the case, obviously you don't need to replace it at that point. Just put it back in, check it 30 days later, and once it starts to get dirty, go ahead and replace it with a new furnace filter. But once again, that's another way to save some money and make your air conditioner unit, even in the winter, make your furnace run even more efficient. Another way to save money on your electric bill is vampire power. I'm not sure if you've heard of vampire power, but vampire power, sometimes also known as standby power, is products in your home that use power even when you're not technically using it. There's 3 ways to identify those items in your home. Items that use a remote control. You might be surprised how many of those products you have in your home. But just to give you some examples, obviously a television, a DVD player. Sometimes there's obscure items that you wouldn't think would have a remote control. A fan, I have a few oscillating fans in my home, and they came with remote controls. And when I saw that, that shocked me a little bit. I thought, yeah, I'd never seen a fan come with remote control. But once again, something that, items that use power even when they're not in use. So anything of the remote control. So that means if it's plugged in, it uses a remote control, and it's not on like a television, maybe it's a black screen or a blank screen. Even though you're not using it, it is pulling a little bit of power. So anything with a remote control, anything with a digital display is using power even if you're not using it. Some good examples of that would be a microwave, a coffee maker. They might have clocks on them. So even though you're not brewing coffee or making something in the microwave, it's still using power to run that clock. So looking for those type of items. Now, some microwaves might be tougher to get in and actually unplug. I certainly understand some, especially if it's over a range, or maybe it's back behind, where it's hard to reach. But if you can unplug those items when you're not using them, it will save you money. Also, chargers. Anything you charge will consume power even when not in use. So what I mean by that is, if let's say you have a cellular phone and you're done charging your cellular phone, and you keep the charger plugged in, but it's not plugged into a device, that charger will continue to use power even when you're not using it. And there's many things we charge these days, obviously cellular phones, tablets, toothbrushes. Some people might have a toothbrush they charge, vacuums, we're starting to see that where they're battery pack, or even the robot vacuums. So there's more and more devices out there that we charge. So what I recommend is go through your home and do a self-audit. Identify everything that uses a remote control, identify everything that has a digital display, identify all the chargers you have in your home. On average, they say we have 30 to 50 items in our home that consume vampire power. And if you're just wondering how much power that equates to on our electric bill, that's 5 to 10% of our electric bill is through vampire power. So really, electricity we are using, but we don't feel like we're using. So once again, there's an opportunity to save money that way. If the more you can unplug, the more you can save. And if you have an average electric bill of $100, that's an opportunity to save $5 to $10 a month. To me, probably like most people, I'd rather have that $5 to $10 in my wallet. So identify those, unplug as much as you can. I certainly understand there's you might not want to unplug everything in your home. You might have a television that would need to be programmed every time that you actually unplug it, and that might be a cost that you are willing to pay for that convenience. But the more you can unplug, the more you can save. I kind of like to use it as the analogy of going to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store, if you buy a store brand compared to a national brand, let's say it's a can of corn, and maybe it's 15 cents more cheaper than buying the national brand. It might not seem like a lot that you're saving there, but if you do that with 20 items in the grocery store, when you get to the register, you might save, $5 to $10. So once again, and vampire power to me is very similar to that. So certainly, see what you can do to combat that power and unplug those products when you're not using them. Another way to combat it is using a power strip or a surge protector. If you hit the red button on the surge protector, what it will actually do is it will stop that power from flowing into those products that are plugged in to the power strip. So certainly that's another easy way, because you just hit one button and it can turn it off to multiple products that's plugged into that power strip. Another way to save money is LED lighting. More and more consumers are purchasing LED lighting, especially as the prices for LED lighting has come down. LED lighting is in price will run usually between 50 cents to $1 if you buy them in a multi-pack. It's much cheaper to buy an LED light in a multi-pack than buying them individually. And if you're wondering, an LED light will use 75 to 80% less energy than an incandescent bulb, and even uses less energy than a compact fluorescent light bulb or the squiggly bulbs. So once again, it's a pretty cheap option that will save you money. One thing I do want to mention, if you are shopping for LED lights, there are some things you want to look at. The LED lighting, and same with the CFLs, they have labels on the packaging. It reminds me when I see it as a nutritional label. It looks exactly like a nutritional label, but it provides you the information you need to make sure you're buying the correct bulb for the fixture that you want to use it in. And so the things you want to look at is brightness. Brightness is listed as lumens on the packaging, and that tells you how bright the bulb will be when you turn it on. And just to give you an idea, 800 lumens would equal the brightness of a 60-watt incandescent bulb. So the higher the lumens, the brighter the bulb. The lower the lumens, the lower the brightness. We do have a fact sheet on our website that provides a chart that shows you the brightness you need to look at in lumens compared to the brightness of what it would be in a incandescent light bulb. So that might be a good educational tool that you can use to figure out what type of lumens you should be looking for. Another thing that that's very important to look at is light appearance. Do you want a warm light or a cool light? A warm light's going to look more like the old incandescent bulbs, kind of give you a yellowish hue to it. The cool lights, they say, sometimes has a blue hue. I'm not sure I ever see that, but that might be my eyesight. But also, people say it looks like daylight. And sometimes it looks like a bright white light. So it depends, obviously it's all preference and what you want and how you want the bulb to appear when you turn it on. But those are some things to look at. So, I've talked to consumers who didn't think about looking at that or didn't know. Obviously, not sure I would know to look for that if it didn't work for the office that I work for. But it is important because I've talked to some consumers who have purchased these light bulbs, they get them home and either they're not bright enough or they don't like the light appearance. So before anyone spends any money, I certainly want to make sure when they buy a light bulb that when they bring it home that they make sure it's the type of light bulb they want and not put it in the socket and say, this isn't what I was looking for. It's not bright enough. So make sure to look at that. When we get into holiday lighting, even now, you see a lot of people out there who have outdoor lighting, on their back patios. Look for LED lighting there too, because certainly you can buy them in strands of lights, and certainly that will save you money compared to incandescent bulbs. And the other nice thing about the LED lights is they don't get hot. You think about the old incandescent bulb. If one burned out and you tried to change it right away, and I've done this way too many times, I've burned the tips of my fingers because the bulb gets so hot. An LED light bulb doesn't get that hot because it uses less kilowatt hours in energy to light up and illuminate. So once again, another good option. The last thing I wanted to talk about is water use, because once again, in the summer, we use more water. It's not uncommon, watering plants and vegetation, possibly watering the lawn. Obviously, we've had a lot of rain lately and the grass is really green and there really hasn't been as much need for water during the summer than we do any other time of the year. And some things that we would recommend, if you do have to water plants or if you need to water the grass, do it early in the morning when there's less evaporation. That's the way to, obviously get the most out of the water that you're spending to water those plants. Don't want to do it in the heat of the day. Also, make sure you don't have any water leaks, around your outside faucets, because certainly that can happen, especially, the first time you turn them on in the spring, possibly, you might have some leaks with that. Some other places, inside the home where you can get some leaks is obviously around toilets. A lot of times the flappers or the seals go bad and the toilets start running. Certainly you want to replace those as soon as possible because they can use a lot of water if not replaced, and that water just can continue to run and water bills can really accumulate at that time. So make sure that, if you do hear your toilet running, to make sure you get that fixed. Once again, even a small drip on a faucet can seem very innocent, but if you put a bucket underneath that faucet, you might be shocked how many gallons of water you waste a day, and it starts accumulating each day, and that can end up spending a lot of money. And the last thing is, if with showers, showers use a lot less energy than taking a bath. And even when we're talking about showers, they do sell a low flow shower head, which will save you some money. Low flow shower heads usually use between a half to 1 gallon less than your standard shower head. So a standard shower head can use 2.5 gallons of water per minute. A low flow shower head is going to use 1.5 to 1 gallons. I know that doesn't seem like a big difference. You think about that over a 20-minute shower, that's can be 20 gallons. And if you have 3 or 4 people in a household, all of a sudden that could be 60 gallons a day. And you start adding that up, a week to a month. That's a lot of water that you can save. And low flow shower heads are not expensive. You can purchase them at the hardware stores or online, fairly reasonable. So there's not a big expense. And, before you purchase any items like that, you may want to check with your utility company like AEP or Dominion. They do offer energy efficiency programs. So I would give them a call before you go out and purchase anything, because, if you can get something through them or rebate, certainly that will save you some money. And we're all about saving money, whether it's through energy efficiency or rebate programs that are offered by the utilities. And we do have that information also on our website. But hopefully some of the tips that I gave you today will result in some savings in your electric bill, maybe even your natural gas bill, even your water bill. Certainly all of us like to save money, and hopefully I gave you some tips today that are very low cost and some no cost that will result in some savings here starting today.
Thank you, Andrew, for coming in to talk with us. One question I do have is, I've heard this before, not so much now, but growing up, I always was told that surge protectors are dangerous. Now, is that true, or is that just a myth? Because I know, like, you have so many things plugged into one thing, and I was told that they can catch fire or they're a little dangerous.
That's a good question, Heather. And on the safety side, that's something we don't really dive into, and I haven't heard anything like that, but either. So I am not sure. I don't want to advise either way. Certainly that's something I can do some research, Heather, and get back in contact with you.
Okay. All right. And you pretty well answered all the rest of the questions. You give some really great helpful tips, and we definitely appreciate you coming out and educating our seniors and trying to help them save some money, and all of us trying to save money. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate you having our office give this presentation today. And once again, I hope, if anything, someone can take at least one thing away from it and save some money, and at the same time staying cool this summer.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.